On today's video, we are going to talk about components and variants. We will learn how to create and manage components in Figma. Hi everyone, my name is Chisom and this is my very first video on YouTube. So do well to like, subscribe and share. On this channel, you will learn how to master Figma and elevate your skill as a designer. Let's get right into it. So what exactly is a component? A component are reusable design elements and there are different levels of these components. It could be just icons like this or buttons or even design patterns. The essence of creating this is for us to easily manage our design elements all over our design. So say for example we have this button and then we need to change the color of this button. Rather than going through each of the buttons all over our designs just to change the color of this button, we can create a component of this button so that whenever we want to edit or manage a particular design element, we easily go to the main components and then do that edit. So once that edit is done, it reflects all through our design elements. Say for example we want to create a component of this button. To create a component, there are various ways of creating a component. So let us try to create for this button, for example. So we are going to select our text and let's say get started. So we're going to put this button on an auto layout, and then let's say we want to change the color to blue, for example. Let's make the radius to say 10. So currently this is just a plain button, and then we want to change this frame, our button. Let's rename it to be button. So let's say we want to create this our button to be a component. There are various ways of doing so. You can either right click on the frame and then we can see the option of create components, or we can go to this right panel here and you see this 4 diamond symbol we have on the right panel. Once we click on it, it automatically change this frame to a component. So it's indicated by the left panel where we have this 4 icon, and once you hover on it, it's showing this is a component. For us to be able to reuse this particular button all over our designs, we create an instance from this component. And to create an instance, we can either duplicate it. Once you duplicate this instance, it's now indicating that it's an instance by this single diamond. You can also duplicate this component by going to your assets and then you see all the components that you've created. So currently we only have this button as our component. So once you drag and bring it to here, you can see you have already duplicated this component as an instance. So currently we have 2 instances of this component. So once we go to our main components and then we change the color, for example, from this blue to purple, it automatically reflects on all the whole instances. So that's the essence of creating components in our designs, so easily manage and edit our design elements. However, if we go to an instance and we decide to change the background color of that instance or to make any edits of that instance, it is not reflected on other instances or the main components. It's a standalone. So if you want to make any changes that will reflect all through your instances, you will have to go to the main components. And if you're having trouble finding what the main component is, you can go to your instance and right click, and then you can see this option of go to main component, and then it takes you to the main component for you to easily edit whatever you want to edit. You can add various properties to this component by clicking on this plus on your right panel. You could add variant, text, Boolean or instance swap. If you want to add variants, there is another way of also adding variants. Once you click on this component, on the right panel you can see this icon, add variants. So let's say for example we want to add a disabled part of this button. So once we click on this add variants, it automatically add one more variant to this button. So once you do so, it's now populating this property 1. So we'll have to rename for us to be able to define each of these components. So let's say we want the first property to be state. This our second variant, we want it to be disabled. So on this first component, we are going to name this state to be active and the second button to be inactive. The moment we bring out an instance from this component, we can now distinguish between the active and the inactive. So once we click on this state, so we can see active and inactive. So let's delete these 2 instances we have here. We could also add more properties to this component set. So we want to also add a text to this component set, and let's say we want to name it label. It could be go to cart, for example. The button is going to take whatever value that we've created here. So let's say we've created this text property, and then it's still showing that this text has not been linked to this component. So you can see not used within components. So for us to be able to link this text property to this component, you go to where you want to link it. So in our case, we want to link this get started to our text property. So you click on it, and then you can hover on this symbol you have here, apply variable or property. So once you click on it, you can now select the label. You can see that it changed from get started to go to cart, because that was the value that we used when we were creating the text property. So if we now go to our instance, we can now see our label property that we've created. So we can easily change our label from the right panel. So let's say we want to change it from go to cart to get started. So whatever we input as value on this right panel, it automatically reflects on this instance. So we want to also add the Boolean property. So let's bring in our icon to further demonstrate this. So let's say we want our button to either show or hide icons. So let's bring it in the button. So we want to add the Boolean property. So we are going to click on this plus and then click on Boolean. So let's say show icon will be the name of our property. So we'll set it as automatically true. That means we want this icon to show on default. So we create our property. So it's showing that this has not been linked. So we go to the icon that we want to link it. So since it's either show or hide icon, we go to the appearance segments of this panel, and you can see this icon apply variable. So once we click on it, we click on show icon. So since the value was true, it's still showing. And once we go to our instance, we can either show or hide the icon. The last but not the least property is the instance swap. So let's say we want to be able to change different icons at intervals. So we'll go to our component set, and then we create an instance swap for that feature. So once we click on the instance swap, let's say we want to name it as icons, and then we pick our value. Let's still leave it as our default value, shopping carts. These preferred values is if we want to restrict the users to be able to select whatever we input here. However, if we don't want to restrict them, you can leave this section blank. So let's proceed to creating our property. So we go to our icons, and then we link our icons to the instance swap property that we've created by clicking on this icon we have here, and then we can link it to the icons. So once we go to our instance, we can easily swap between all the preferred values that we've created. So we can swap for our cards to hearts, to any other icons that we prefer. With this, we have come to the end of today's video. If you stayed up to this point, kudos to you. Amazing. But I would love to hear from you. So drop your questions and suggestions in the comment section below. In the next video, I'll be diving deep into design systems. So stay tuned and stay glued. And I'll see you in the next one. Bye.